Welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Staltari, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last few years, I've been featuring each Fiji or King's daughter and getting to know their stories a little bit better. There are over 700 of them. We are now on episode 207. We've come such a long way together. We've got a long way to go. And before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know, subscribe, like, and notify. The other three ways are ways you can make the channel grow, which is Coffee, which is a one-time support, Patreon, which is a monthly, Super Thanks, which is here on your YouTube channel, and you can click on that and donate. And also on my Have Roots Will Travel, I also have a PayPal button. So thank you to all of you who have participated and helped out. I really appreciate all your good wishes. Thank you so much, and let's carry on and find out who our Fille du Roi is for this episode. This episode is number 207, and we are looking at Madeline Normand, which she is a viewer request, and she happens to also be the great-grandmother of my best friend Julie and the boy next door, and another one of my dear genealogy customers as well. So with all that being said, let's get to know Marie Madeline and what made her so special. Marie Madeline was born about 1651 in the commune of Sens, France. Her parents were Jean-Baptiste Normand and Catherine Peugeot. You can see by the map that she is part of a kind of an unusual region. Not a lot of Fille du Roi come from here, so I'm always intrigued. We have Bourgogne-Franche-Comté is the region, and inside of that, the département is Yonne, and Sens has about 26,000 people. So it's not a small commune by any means. The church where she would have been baptized, Saint-Hilaire, and dates back to the 13th century. This is a modern day Sens, how it looks today on the bottom right of your screen. It's occupied since the time of the Gauls and by the Romans. It had walls built around it, parts of which are still visible. And if you can believe it, Julius Caesar mentioned it to give you an idea of how important this region was. The Cathedral of Sens in 1135 was one of the very first cathedrals built in that Gothic style. This is the cathedral you see in the very back of this picture of the modern day Sens. And King Louis IX was married here, Pope Alexander III, Thomas Becket, and William of Sales all spent some time in the city. The massacre of Sens in 1562 saw the murder of 100 Huguenots. And then the city of Paris overtook Sens in 1622, and Paris became the archdiocese. So it really has this extraordinary, rich history. So Marie Madeleine would actually come to New France after her sister, Catherine, arrived in 1665. And after losing her father, she came with a dowry about 250 pounds worth. Now let's have a look at the groom that she selected. So the groom that she selected and who selected her, his name was Alphonse Moret de Valcourt, and he was born in 1650 in Quebec City. His parents were Noël Moret and Hélène Desportes. His parents are almost like royalty in terms of Quebec. So we'll explore that a little bit, but suffice it to say, she married well. On February 10th, 1670, Marie Madeleine married Alphonse Moret in Quebec City. So they would settle in a place called Montmagny. It was actually, they were part of La Pointe-à-la-Caille, but La Pointe-à-la-Caille, in a kind of a strange twist of fate, actually got eroded. And so they basically now, it is all part of Montmagny. The family would settle here as one of the earliest pioneers. The city is on the south shore of the St. Lawrence River, and it was founded in 1678, and it was named obviously in honor of Charles de Montmagny, the first to have the title of Governor of New France. So you can see in the little map here in the square where I put Montmagny, this is what Montmagny looks like today. On the bottom right, there's a depiction of the earliest church, and now the church that is there now, and of course, Charles de Montmagny himself. This is the 1681 census. We have Alphonse Morin, we have Marie Normand, we have their children, Alphonse, Pierre, Noël, Joseph, Catherine, Jean. They have 2 guns, 7 goats, and 6 arpents, about 4 to 5 acres of lands. This is the very first time that we are mentioning Montmagny in 207 videos. I'm so excited that we finally get to explore a different city. They would go on to have 11 children. François Alphonse married Marie-Catherine Chamillard and had 3 children, all of whom made it. Pierre Noël married Marguerite Rousseau and had 10 children, 7 of whom made it. Germain would die at 8 years of age. Joseph would marry Agnes Bouchard and had 7 children, all of whom married, all of whom made it. He also had a natural child with Louise de Trois-Maisons, who was born just before he married Agnes. The child did not survive. Agnes's mother, Fille du Roi Anne Roy, who we featured in episode 516. Louise's mother was also Fille du Roi, Martine Croisier, who we featured in episode 53. I mean, the connections are incredible. We have Catherine, who married Jacques Baudouin and had 5 children, all of whom made it. Jacques' mother was Françoise Durand, who we profiled in episode 153. Nicolas would die at 2 years of age. Jean-Baptiste died after the 1681 census. Mary Madeline would die at 8. Nicolas would marry Madeline Mercier and have 1 child. And Louis would die at 1 year of age. And Charles would die in infancy. So Marie-Madeleine would die from the effects, I believe, of childbirth on August 27, 1690. Her son Charles had died on May 11, 1690, followed by 4-year-old Louis, who would die the next month. To compound the sadness, their daughter Marie-Madeleine died in September at age 8. So in the space of less than 6 months, Alphonse would lose 4 members of his family. Alphonse would carry on. He would wed Angelique Trois-Maisons in 1692. Angelique was the daughter of Martine Croisier, who we have done in episode 46. Croisny, I should say, a fellow Fille du Roi. She was 20 years his junior. He would go on to have 4 children. Thomas would die in infancy. Louis would marry Elizabeth Bilodeau and have 1 child, who survived. Marie married Jacques Bilodeau and had 2 children, both of whom would survive. And Hélène would die in infancy. I've got a couple of really great suggestions for you for further research. The Société d'Histoire des Filles du Roi produced a series on different Filles du Roi and where they were located. Les Filles du Roi from the Côte du Sud features Marie-Madeleine Normand. If you can read French, certainly this is an excellent, excellent book. And then on the Alphonse's side, his mother, Hélène Desportes, is actually the very first child born in New France. She was the first white child born. And the Morin family is obviously extremely, extremely important to French Canada. So Susan McNally has written an incredible book on Hélène's world. Please have a look at it. It really is a great read. And I've posted how to, the links and all that good stuff for you to have a look. And if you are a descendant of the Morin family, it's important to understand Noël Morin as well, Alphonse's father. He is featured in volume 16 of our French-Canadian Ancestors. Go on the Facebook page, our Free French-Canadian Ancestors. You join, you can look at the files, or you can try to find this particular book. It's extraordinary. Sometimes they are in some of the libraries, of the family history libraries. You might be able to find an old copy somewhere, but they're extremely rare. So this is a really good way of being able to read up on it. And as befits such an important family, they do have l'Association des Morins d'Amérique, and I have posted the web address for you to kind of find out more information. information and become a member. Are some of my favorite resources. WikiTree, I am getting more and more enamored with. I'm participating in it. I'm doing a lot of corrections and things like that in my own tree there, and really having a lot of fun. Wish I had more time. So I've posted all of the links to these particular websites that I use. If you have any you'd like me to include, please do. I'd love to be able to add to this list. Madeline really had a remarkable life. Although her life was cut short, she lived it right to the nth degree, and she was able to be one of those pioneers of Montmagny and to marry into one of the strongest and earliest families of Quebec. Certainly made her mark. And although she only had, as of 1729, 52 descendants, I suspect that line kept growing exponentially, as they say. And so we want to thank Marie-Madeleine for her bravery, for her courage, and we bless her memory. Thank you so much, Marie-Madeleine. And I also want to say thank you to our patrons and supporters. Thank you, all of you, for your kind words and your support. It means the world to me. So until I see you on episode 208, I bid you adieu and au revoir.